Welcome to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Rahn. She's a master educator and author, leading the conversation to restore the American mind through wisdom, virtue, and truth.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Restoring Education in America. I'm Priscilla Rahn, your host, and I am so glad that you've decided to join us in the conversation today. My show is all about education. So whether you're in public education, private, charter, classical, homeschool, trade school, micro school, or whether you're involved in education policy, a think tank, or an education activist, we're going to talk all about it. So today we are in the final stretches of school board races all around Colorado. And what could be more important than electing policymakers who will protect children and respect parents? So my guests today are a team. They are the Douglas County Common Sense candidates: Keaton Gambill, Dede Kramer, Matt Smith, and Steve Vail. And we're going to bring them on the stage right now. Here we go. I'm welcoming Steve. How's it going?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Keaton, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Dede, welcome. Oh, here we go. There's Dede. We're getting our technology working up here. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Priscilla.
Hi,
Thanks for
Dede.
having us.
Hi, Priscilla.
I'm so honored to have all four of you here. You're the dream team for Douglas County School Board. What I want to do is just do a quick whip around, have you introduce yourself and describe where you are in Douglas County. Steve, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Thanks for having us. So Steve Vail, Colorado native. I'm running for school board in District G, which encompasses Parker and the surrounding area. Happy to be here.
Keaton, let's go to you.
Yeah, I'm running in District D, which is the east side of I-25 in Castle Rock.
Awesome. Matt, where are you from?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Matt Smith here. I am in Castle Rock, but it's District B, but the districts really don't matter. Just a huge emphasis on that.
Yeah.
And Dede last, but certainly not least.
Hi, Dede Kramer. I'm running in District E.
So welcome again, guys. You guys call yourself the Common Sense Slate. And I love that term because I'm a public school teacher and a bonus mom. And when we talk about common sense, there are so many things that have been happening in public education. And I know that that has inspired you and drawn you to run for office. But can you guys tell me what common sense means to you?
Sure. We're really trying to get, so just trying to get back to the core values of teaching. So get back to teaching our children, the math, reading, science, history, practical life skills, and get the politics out of the classroom. There was something that a lot of us have heard on another radio station where, our kids should go to school or come home with the same values that they went to school with. We should really be, as a school board, focusing on those practical skills and those core educational values. So that's really where we're getting with the common sense.
So when you talk with parents in Douglas County, Matt, what are some of the things that you're hearing?
Oh, yeah. Definitely the biggest thing is they want to make sure that biological boys are not in girls' sports, their bathrooms, or their locker rooms. I mean, that is something that we just hear about over and over and over as we've talked to thousands and thousands of voters throughout this campaign. That one's huge.
So you would think, again, that's a common sense thing, safety. I used to coach female sports, and I'm thinking, boy, that would be insane to have boys in a locker room with girls. And they're not the same, and so keeping girls safe in locker rooms and providing that not only physical safety, but mental safety, knowing that you walk into a place, because when you think about young teenage girls and middle school girls, they're very, very insecure about their bodies. to begin with. Dede, don't you think it's like, could you imagine being a middle school or high school young girl and having a biological boy in the bathroom with you or competing? We've seen these images of videos of boys playing sports and really hurting girls. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that's a common question that people have been positing throughout this campaign is, as an adult, say you're at the gym as an adult woman and a man walks in, how are you going to respond to that? And 99% of the time, it's a reasonable response. I would be threatened, probably afraid. And it has happened, of course, here and there in small pockets in gyms that, throughout Douglas County for adults, but nobody wants that for themselves, so they shouldn't want to impose it on other people's children or their own.
So when we look at the budget for the school district, we know Douglas County has passed a couple of bonds, and the salary increase has been a big conversation with educators, but Douglas County School District has been good by their word and increased salaries. What are your thoughts about making sure that not only teachers have a great culture in Douglas County as teachers, but also have a competitive salary? I mean, those two things are important to teachers to keep and retain educators. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So it was a two-part question. So I'll hit culture first. And I think culture is going to be huge because we know there's districts paying more, Cherry Creek, for example, but teachers are just not leaving to go to that district, and they're actually coming back because of the culture, because of the, what I believe is because of the union influence and just some of a lot of the politics that are in the classroom. So we've nailed the culture here, and that's a big thanks to Erin Kane. She came in at the right time after the last superintendent was let go, fortunately, because it needed to happen here in the district. Erin Kane came in, and she's really turned around the culture here. And teachers love things the way they are. They're really happy based on surveys. And so, we couldn't be more happy or more supportive of the culture that's been created here. I'll let someone else run with the, the second part of the question, but I'm happy to keep going. I just don't want to dominate the show.
Yeah, who wants to jump in and talk about teacher salary? Because that I know keeps coming up.
So I'll just jump in real quick because this comes up, and we've had this come up several times. The opposition is talking about how the teachers need a seat at the table and how they need to be protected. And what we're finding is that, as Matt pointed out, right, that we've got we don't have the exact numbers, but we don't have a huge membership in the union, right? So the teachers are getting what they want. They do, again, based on the surveys, are saying that they're happy. We are seeing, just to touch on that again, is that we're seeing them at least go away a little bit to, say at Cherry Creek for the better pay, and then coming back because of the culture. So what we want to make sure is that we're giving them all the tools, the support, and that culture that you're talking about to make sure that they can come to school, teach the kids, because I believe that that's what teachers really want to do. I don't think that they want to co-parent. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You're a teacher. I think they just want the culture and the tools and the support from the administration to be able to do what it is that their passion in life. And so we want to make sure that we're continuing that great momentum that Erin started. Look, the pay is always going to be a challenge, but I think that, and if this is anything like private sector, pay works for a little while, right? Everybody wants to be paid as much as possible. But if you don't like your job, you don't like coming to work every day, pay's not going to matter. So we're going to focus on making sure that we're competitive, but we've got some constraints. We've got some pretty serious constraints around that. So the things that we can do is make sure that the environment that they work in for that pay is the best possible one. And I think that the momentum that the current conservative board and that Erin has already put in place is just what we want to continue. We don't want to disrupt that. Let's keep that going.
I can attest to that pay is great, but pay isn't enough to keep good teachers in a district. My stepson graduated from Douglas County School District. He went his whole entire education through Douglas County and got an amazing education, and he's in college now. He went through the aviation program. So I'm so happy with the work that has been done. And every educator that I've met in Douglas County were amazing. And so I can attest, I've taught and worked in DPS and I've worked in Cherry Creek. And we always think that the grass is greener on the other side. But when I look at what Douglas County has been able to accomplish, we're one of the highest performing school districts in the state. There's no, substitute for having a wonderful culture and attracting great teachers who love the students, where parents are involved. So let's actually pivot to parents. And I want to double check with Dede with the technology. Is that working?
Yes, I can hear you. I
All
can't hear
right.
them. So I don't
I
know
love
what's
when
happening.
if that's okay. You know what? If you're just tuning in, we have the Douglas County School Board slate, our common sense candidates, our Keaton Gambill, Dede Kramer, Matt Smith, Steve Vail. We want you guys to go out and vote for them. If you haven't turned in your ballot, you have 24 hours to turn in your ballot. But we're talking about all things Douglas County budgets, curriculum, parental rights. These are really key. And I know that's one of your platforms is supporting parents. So Dede, let's go to you since you're back on here and talk to me. How important is it to assure parents that their voices are going to be heard?
We really believe that parent involvement is huge on all levels, starting from the young age through high school, and we'll do everything in our power to make sure that we hear and reach out to and meet with as many parents as possible. We're also huge believers in the opt-in survey method, which was just passed actually for the Healthy Kids survey, which means parents actually have to sign off on what their kids are taking surveys on before the kids receive it, so that parents are aware of what is happening in the school. So we'd like to see more surveys like that, and just make sure that parents have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the classroom.
Yeah, I remember there was a time where people said they couldn't believe that children were taking surveys and asked questions that were pretty invasive and personal. I've seen them as a classroom teacher. It really does astound me when people say, oh, this isn't happening in public schools. And I can say, yes, absolutely. These things are happening, which is why they're coming to the forefront. And we're having these conversations around being respectful to parents, letting them know exactly what's going on, because parents have the right and responsibility for the upbringing of their children and their education. And we need to partner with them. We used to call parents stakeholders, and now they're being called terrorists, right? And we don't want to hear from them, Steve. So let's talk about curriculum and how those decisions are made, because when you sit in public policy meetings where parents are coming to school board meetings and they're having conversations about what they want their children to learn or not learn, like, how do you approach those decisions around curriculum?
This is something that's come up many times, and I want to give everybody else a chance, because we all believe in this. We're all aligned on this. But we want to make sure that, again, we're getting back to those core values and that they're community values, right? So we know that there are educational standards that we have to meet. We want to make sure that we maintain the fact that we've got the highest, graduation rate. We want to make sure that our test scores, which are outpacing all the other, Denver metro areas, we want to maintain that, right? And we've gotten feedback. Obviously, we can do better, right? So we're not where we need to be. We're just doing it better than anybody else right now. But we also want to make sure, and we keep being told, as you kind of pointed out, that these things aren't happening. These influence and these agendas are not making their way into our libraries, and that the things that they're reading and the things that are happening in the classroom, we're being told that those outside influences are not happening. And we as a policy board want to make sure that we're helping, again, Erin and the administration keep those classrooms as politically free as possible and really focused on the curriculum that is going to give them the practical life skills that they need. And I'll defer to others because I know we all feel very passionate about this. So,
yeah, free of politics, not necessarily politically free, just catch the phrase there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the curriculum should meet the mission of the organization. In this case, that's educating the students to have a well-rounded education, meet the metrics. We have KPIs that are administered by the state and the government. Those are good indicators of if we're achieving our mission, but also, honoring the community and the community values that we represent is best done with a neutral education first position when it comes to curriculum, keeping any sort of cultural, political, ideological content that's divisive out of curriculum.
Yeah, Matt, when we look at the graduation rates and we look at the proficiency rates of math and literacy and all of the things, when we're just looking at the data, there's just so much to focus on. We need teachers to focus on content and the state standards and do that with fidelity, and for them to have a work environment where they can help all of our students be successful. And we have work to do. I mean, every school district has work to do. But when we look at outside influences, for example, I'll just name it, the teachers union. Now, I was actually a big activist in the teachers union. I was a leader in CEA and a delegate to NEA. And I left the teachers union 2 years ago because I started to see that, yes, it's true. We're not really focusing on student achievement. We're focusing on our own social agenda, which is really, really dangerous and the antithesis of where we should be putting our time as teachers. Now, in Douglas County, we haven't had a teachers union or collective bargaining unit, I should say, for quite some time. And despite that, our students are achieving extremely well despite that. And I know at the forum that I attended, you talked about, why we don't want to have an adversarial relationship with teachers. We want to have a working relationship. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Matt?
Well, it just goes back to the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, we're already doing so well without a collective bargaining agreement. It's just really unnecessary here in the district. But you're absolutely right. The last thing we want to do is create an adversarial relationship between admin and staff. And so what we're seeing all across the country, and even right here in Colorado Springs, right, we're seeing that adversarial relationship. And it really, unfortunately, puts students last when, the entire teaching body goes on strike, and then there's nobody there to run the school or teach the children. And that's what taxpayers expect their money to be going towards. And parents expect that when they drop their child off at school, someone is there to teach them and care for them, not out on a picket line. And so that's really what we're trying to avoid here. And it's just really unnecessary. The majority of the teachers that we talk to, they want union benefits mainly for liability insurance. And so there's alternatives to that where you don't have to join a union that are much cheaper and you still get the same liability protection. I'm sure you're aware of that as well.
Yeah, well, why don't we just take a moment to share that with teachers? If you would like to have $2 million of liability insurance for free, you can join Teacher Freedom Alliance. It costs you nothing and you can have protection, because I know when I first started being a part of the teachers union, it was fear-based. I was told, you need to have you need to be a part of the union in case your principal wants to fire you or you get accused of something in the school. And it was fear-based. And I just want teachers to know that not only can you have liability insurance, because sometimes that does happen where you're accused of something or you make a mistake and you need to have that legal advice and protection. And that's fine. There's another organization called PACE, PACE, where it's only $20 a month. By the way, a school district in Woodland Park wove that into their benefits package and they get a discount. So I think they're only paying $15 a month per teacher. And so that might be something that you guys can take a look at when you're elected, is that how can we support our teachers and have liability insurance, but make that part of their benefits package? I think that's a win-win situation. Bingo. to help teachers. But I want to ask you guys what differentiates you from your opponent. So why don't we start with Dede, and can you name one or two things that just sets you apart in a positive way?
I think the biggest thing that differentiates our slate versus our opponents is that we are fully against having boys and girls sports and want to make sure that all girls stay safe in their locker rooms, in their spaces, and at their bathrooms. And that is something that we have gotten a lot of feedback about. I personally have 3 girls and have asked my girls, as well as their friends, how they would feel if a boy came into their bathroom or wanted to be on their sports teams. And it would be something that they are all very uncomfortable with. As we spoke about earlier, it's just not a natural thing to have a man in a female's restroom at any age. And the other thing is we all bring a very diverse set of business backgrounds to this board and feel like we can offer the kind of guidance that the board needs and continue on the great path that it's been on from the previous conservative board.
Matt, why don't you share a little bit more about what differentiates you from your opponent?
Oh, perfect. We're not endorsed by Planned Parenthood. We're not endorsed by the Colorado Working Families Party. So I think those are big ones, and it may not sound that big right now, but there's not even a Planned Parenthood in Douglas County. So one would ask why would candidates go out and seek that endorsement? Also, as candidates, we get sent the same emails that everyone else does, where folks are seeking our endorsements. We're able to see the questionnaires, and in order to get those 2 endorsements that I just mentioned, you had to answer some very interesting questions, in my opinion, about making sure, one of those is about opening clinics inside of schools, on the Planned Parenthood one specifically. And the Colorado Working Families Party, that one asked you to remove SROs, have a moratorium on charter schools, and also reduce the amount of white teachers in the district. And so, those were just 3 of the big ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, that is ridiculous that we care more about skin color than actually the ability of an educator to be a master teacher. I mean, that's another thing that I've noticed is we don't really focus on developing master teachers, and the professional development needs to reflect that intention, that we're building skills in teachers that they can actually go into a classroom with confidence and meet the objectives that are set before them. Steve, we'll go to you.
So, everybody's kind of touched on it. We're all either business leaders or in the business world, so we understand, and we're outside of it. And I hate cliches, but kind of outside that echo chamber, because I think a lot of what people don't understand is we have exactly one employee, and that's the superintendent. And so we want to make sure that we're setting policies that get implemented by teachers, right? But our job is to take care of the taxpayers, hard-earned tax dollars, make sure that we're creating a safe environment. And that's where I'm going to get into one of my, a couple of my passions. But a lot of people think that we're going to be in the business of teachers and administrators, and that's just not our job. Our job is to pick the very best administration and our one singular employee, which is the superintendent. And I believe that we have the ability with our diverse and very experienced background to do that. But Matt had touched on this, and one of the things that we get asked a lot about is the SRO program, right? And so it's unfortunate that we have to have these conversations, but we need to keep our schools safe. Just like when Matt was pointing out that we want to, parents want to drop off their students with somebody to teach them. They want to know that they're in a safe environment, so that when they do hear those things in the news, unfortunately, that they know that Douglas County cares very much about the safety and care of those children. And so for us, the SRO program is a huge partnership that we want to embrace and expand. We've worked with the Sheriff's Department and local law enforcement, and we want to continue to do that, right? So there is nothing that supports, we've had conversations where, and as Matt pointed out, some of these endorsements require them to say, well, are you going to get rid of SROs and replace those with mental health, providers? I believe that there's a partnership and there's a place for both. Right? You want to prevent the event or the situation from ever happening, but if it does, there's no substitute for that trained professional that's going to keep our children safe. And so that's what really differentiates us. Is it's not an either or, it's an and the and is definitely we must have those SROs in those schools. The other piece of it is school choice and CTE. I think that really differentiates us. They've been coming to the middle saying that they support school choice. But again, some of those endorsements are saying, will you stop and promise that you'll never open another charter school? That's not us, right? Now, we're not on the other side saying we need to just keep opening them up. What we need to do is make sure that every student has the best, every student and family has the best choice for the learning methodology that works best for their child so that they can be successful. And that's what I really think. We're not going after endorsements. We're going after student success and student safety. And that's what really, I think, differentiates us.
That's perfect. And I know, our Sheriff Weekly, he's so on board with public safety and the safety of our kids. As a teacher, it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that I have school board members who value SROs in the school and can be there to respond quickly in an emergency and not have to wait, minutes, because every second matters. And so thank you for making that a priority, is to keeping our students and our teachers and staff safe. Keaton, what separates you from your opponent?
Yeah, the other three have really described the differentiators between the two slates. The main thing would be those endorsements they've gone after that aren't reflective of the Douglas County citizenry's values, like the Planned Parenthood, the Working Families Party, and the gun control groups that want to reduce SRO presence, and our transparency. We've never said anything on this campaign that we don't mean, but you can clearly draw a line between what they say and what they mean based on the surveys they've pursued and the meeting minutes from American Federation of Teachers. My opponent expressed and is documented in their meeting minutes that he will not campaign saying he's for collective bargaining because he knows that won't get him elected, but he will do it after he's elected. If he's willing to lie to do that to get elected, what else can we learn about the surveys they've taken?
I did notice that at the forum that the opposition candidates did not want to go on record in public saying that they would support the teachers union, but they have a teachers union endorsement, which tells me they probably told the union that they would support that collective bargaining. So I caught that right away. That's very deceptive. But hey guys, we're gonna have to land our plane here. The time is gone, but I've enjoyed talking to you. I know. So, hey, if you're listening, we were just having a conversation with the Douglas County School Board candidates, Steve Vail, Matt Smith, Keaton Gambill, and Dede Kramer. You should have your ballot in the mail, but you need to turn it in. You have 24 hours to turn in your ballot, and let's get these great candidates elected. And to my listeners, make sure that you vote and catch me next time. And remember, educating the mind without the heart is no education. So seek wisdom, cultivate virtue, and speak truth.
Thanks for tuning in to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Rahn. Visit PriscillaRahn.com to connect or learn how you can sponsor future episodes to keep this message of faith, freedom, and education on the air.